All right, we all know why we're here today. That's enough. Sit down. Sit down. We all know why we're here today. We're to honor a man. I mean, what do you say about a man who is so respected and so revered and so well loved? But we're not here to talk about Pat Delsey today. No, we're going to talk about Dick Clark, of course, and we got a panel for you, some speakers for you, I guess I should say, that are just phenomenal. They met him, they knew him, they know about him. I was never fortunate enough to meet Dick Clark, but boy was I a fan. I remember coming home from school and trying to dance. It was more about the music, Danny and the Juniors and everyone who showed up on there, Dee Dee Sharp, all the big stars, the Orlons. But I did try to dance, and I used the refrigerator door. That's what you... because it's one, and my mother would scream at me because, are you trying to cool the whole house, you know? One person who was on Bandstand, 1961, I believe, she was on a few times. She happens to be the Dovell's fan club president. Yes, her name's Bonnie Nadley. Let's get her up to say a few things, huh?
Thank you, Corky. I would like to share a few of my memories with you of Dick Clark and dancing on American Bandstand. I danced on American Bandstand in 1961 as often as I could, taking 2 buses in the Frankfurt L to get to the show. I remember the lines being so long to get into the studio, the boys on one side of the door and the girls on the other. I remember going into the studio for the first time and thinking how great everything looked in color, because I saw everything black and white in my little TV set. Being on American Bandstand and seeing Dick Clark for the first time was so awesome, and I had to pinch myself to make sure I wasn't just dreaming. Dick Clark was the perfect host. If we danced in front of the cameras for too long of a time, Dick would ask us to move to the back of the dance floor. He wanted everybody to have a chance to be seen on TV, and that was the only fair thing to do. I had the opportunity to see many performers on the show. One of the groups I saw in 1961 was Danny and the Juniors singing Cha-Cha Go-Go. I was so excited to be sitting on the bleachers watching them perform, and now I'm so happy to be here with them at this luncheon 51 years later, sharing the memories we all have of Dick Clark and American Bandstand. My dad used to write for a newspaper in Philadelphia, and in 1977 he interviewed Dick Clark. I have a photo of my dad with Dick Clark, which was taken after the interview. Then in 1997, I met Dick Clark at the Bandstand Grill in King of Prussia. I showed him the picture, and he remembered being interviewed by my dad. He even recognized the white suit he had on in the picture. We talked for a little while, and he autographed the picture for me, and I have it hanging up in my computer room. During the last few years, every so often, I would write to Dick Clark, telling him how much he was an inspiration to me. Last year, I sent him a picture of myself and my dear friend, Bill Kelly. The picture was taken at a Broadcast Pioneers luncheon. I knew that Bill and Dick were friends. I received a letter back from Dick Clark, and he wrote, "It's so nice to know that we can both call Bill our friend," and that is so very true. The last letter, thank you. The last letter I wrote to Dick Clark was after the Broadcast Pioneers luncheon on February the 15th of this year. I included a picture of myself with Lou Klein, taken at the luncheon. On February the 22nd, Dick wrote back and thanked me for sending him the picture and for keeping him in my prayers. He passed away less than 2 months after writing that letter to me. I will treasure all the letters I received from Dick Clark and save them forever. I consider myself to be so fortunate to have had the opportunity to dance on American Bandstand and to have such wonderful memories of a time so long ago. Dick Clark will live forever in the hearts of his family and of his many fans and friends. He was a giant of a man and touched the lives of so many people. I kept him in my prayers for such a long time when he was so sick. And now I need to say, may he rest in peace. He will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you very much. This next speaker that's going to come up is, all I have to do is say one thing, Disco USA. And you'll know Ron Joseph. He is keeping the music alive. He is one of the foremost authorities on American Bandstand and Dick Clark. He's really knowledgeable. We all say Ron Joseph, but I know him as RJ. RJ, come on up.
Thank you, Corky, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having this belated luncheon for Dick Clark. I'm going to do it quick because they gave me 5 minutes. Last time I did it for John Facenda, I had 1 minute, so you know I really have a lot of check here. First of all, I am very fortunate to have had a career because of Dick Clark's inspiration to me. I met Dick Clark through Tony Mamarella. I came in when the trouble occurred that Bob Horn had to leave, and he took over a show that was basically in chaos. However, because of him, I remember on my 16th birthday that he and the pop singer they were giving me a cake, and he asked me what I wanted to do for a lifetime after you leave American Bandstand. I said, I want to be a disc jockey. I want to have a show like yours and a radio show. Well, he looked at me and he said, Ronnie, you're a mad, impetuous fool. You have to have some connections to get in the business. You have to have advertisers. I said, I'm aware of that, Dick. I'm going to do it. And remember, you said I was a mad, impetuous fool. You'll be on my first television show. And this was, 1958, 57, the first year Dick took over. And believe it or not, I've been on radio and TV for 52 years. And still today, on 92.1 here in Philadelphia, and also Channel 25, the new digital, carries me on Sunday afternoon. But we're on across the country. I've syndicated the show, all because of Dick. I realized that he had more money than I had. He had more connections. His father was an owner of a New York radio station in Utica. But Dick Clark treated me really a little better than anybody else of the committee. Only not because I was good looking or I could dance better, because I was not good looking and I could not dance that great. I wanted to learn the business, and Dick Clark was a gem. He took me to the little theater at 44th and Broadway. We did the Beechnut Peppermint Gum. I had the big pleasure of Wrapped in Green and Made for a Teen. We had to hold the package of Beechnut, and I did my first commercial for him. Also, he took me to Palumbo's for the first time. I got to meet Elvis Presley at the old arena at 46th and Market. I got to meet the Beatles, their first American appearance in Atlantic City, that Mr. Hammond had them there at the convention hall. All because of my inspiration, Dick Clark. You know, we rode around many times. He didn't know Philadelphia. He was from upstate New York. So when he had to get to a place, I was the go for. Ronnie, I have to get across the city. I have to go to Allentown to the Frolics Ballroom, whichever the case may be, the Woodbury Armory, the Starlight Ballroom in Wildwood on the boardwalk. I did not mind driving at 16 years old with a gentleman of his magnitude. I have so many memories that I only am given 5 minutes here. He came to my high school, which he never went to anyone's high school, and we offered to give him $500. And believe it or not, the $500 was strictly a talent fee, and he wound up giving it back to me in my class and said it was a personal favor. So Dick Clark did give money back, even though you hear the stories, of course, of the payola scandal and so on and so forth. Dick was a gem. Also, I wanted to go to the Drexel University, and he wrote a beautiful letter for me to Dr. Francis Davis, which was the weatherman on Channel 6. So many little things he did when I think of it. came to my birthday party in Drexel Hill. Well, he lived in Drexel Brook, the apartments, and I lived in Drexel Hill. So maybe geographically he treated me a little nicer than the other guys. He came to my 16th birthday party, and I don't think anyone, even Doris Olson and Mary Elizabeth, who were here, and Barbara Marson, if she's here, remember the show with 65 people from the committee came to my house on a rainy day, and Dick Clark came in a torrential downpour to my home. There are too many things to really speak about. Friday night on my radio show at 7 o'clock on 92.1, I will recount most of the things that Dick did for me. Especially, I feel privileged. I'm looking over all the different things that I had to tell you. There are too many to mention, but I wanted to be like him. I tried. I did it on the reasonable way by going out and schlepping my show with the old 2-inch tapes across the United States. And at one time, we were carried in about 12, 13 of the major cities. I really owe a lot to Dick Clark. Not that he really helped me, he inspired me. And to be inspired by a man of his magnitude, I feel very, very blessed. Thank you for hearing me.
We call him RJ, and he knows a lot about the days of American Bandstand and Dick Clark. He knows a lot. This next man is truly a man who needs no introduction. We say it all the time. This guy, it's really, really true. I'll never forget one time I went into his studio, and he gave me a big hug, and he says, "Corky, you've been smoking again. Get out of here." That's what he told me. Ladies and gentlemen, all I have to say is the Geeter.
And Corky is still smoking. Anyway, number one, I got to say it is such a delight to see so many people, Sally Berlin and Lou Klein, and the people that have been a part of not only Dick Clark's career, but my career. And I only wish that I could spend more time with you guys, because you guys are truly what broadcasting was about in the beginning. And this tribute to Dick Clark is really heartwarming because of the fact we all knew Dick Clark. We talk about the rock and roll world, we talk about the business world. He did the whole thing. Dick Clark was very special to me for many reasons. If you read my book, you will read that at the age of 13, I began as a dancer on the original Bob Horn Bandstand show. And when Bob lost the show, and Lou Klein can tell you this, Tony Mamarella took over in the interim until they came up with a new host. At that time, I was the head of the committee, and it was told to me, Tony said, Bob will be back after the heat dies down. But after 3 weeks, Bob didn't come back. Tony said to me, there's a new guy, Dick Clark, who's going to be taking over the show. Now, we knew Dick Clark because he used to do Bar's Diamond Theater, and he used to do the cockamamie commercial on Bandstand with the sweeper and all of that. And I said, well, wait, we want Bob Horn. To cut to the chase, I picketed the day that they were going to bring Dick Clark onto the show. I was called into the offices with Lou Klein, with, at that time, Roger Klipp, and George Kohler. And Maria, I think, is here, right? Maria was George's secretary at that time. Where are you? I love you, Maria. All right? You are, that's why so many of you people have been a part of my life. Sally Berlin, going back with you, with Frank Rizzo, going back with Paul DiGartona, going back to the days with, to the very beginning. My sound guys are here. The camera guys are here. Very important to the business. So I love all of you guys. But, so what happens is, I picket Bandstand. I get arrested. It's my first pinch. I'm 16 years old. I've been arrested after that many times, but this was my first pinch. 16 years, but I'm still here, so, you know. Now, my days dancing on Bandstand are over, but Dick Clark, as a businessman, was the greatest. See, that's something you guys didn't know. Lou Klein probably knew. Bob Horn had a record company called Sound and Teen Records. When Dick Clark took over, it became known as Cameo Parkway Records. Also Dick Clark, and there was nothing wrong about that in the day, had publishing companies, had pressing plants, also had merchandising. There was nothing wrong with that. He had a group publishing song called At the Hop. Frankie Maffei is here. Danny and the Juniors, he had the publishing. I become the road manager for Danny and the Juniors. We do the show, we go into New York City, the Little Theater, Beach Nut, and Dick Clark sees me for the first time since I said, no, we're going to pick at you. And he looks at me, and I look at him, and I said, Joe Turnover could tell you, I said, I'm going to get fired because he knows I'm the road manager. But he says nothing. We smile. Hello, Mr. Clark. We do the show. I stay over in New York City. The next morning, I'm on my way back to Philadelphia. I'm getting on to the train station, Pennsylvania Station. Who's getting on? Dick's getting on. He sees me, says, Jerry, sit next to me. I want to talk to you. I figured, this is it. I'm done. We sit. He says, you know, you tried to picket the show. Today, all of these kids that are on Bandstand are national stars. Arlene Sullivan, who is here, you were one of the best dancers. We offered you $30. You were getting $15 to be the head of the committee. You refused it. And I'm just listening, because I learned how to listen a long time ago. And he says, but the reason I want to tell you this is because I respect that. I know that if I lose Bandstand tomorrow, all of these people who are now kissing my ass that were with Bob Horn, whoever comes in will be with the next guy, and I will never have anybody as loyal with me as you were to Bob. We got off that train, ladies and gentlemen. This is 1957. The guys can tell you. We shook hands. I said, you have my loyalty to the day that you die. From 1957 to the day that Dick Clark died, he was my friend. He wrote the introduction to my book. When he wanted to see Sinatra, I took him to see Sinatra. When he was going through a hardship with his first wife, Barbara, and Lou can tell you, he moved into the Parktown apartments. He would call me up, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, let's go get a drink. We would go to the Vesper Club. Dick Clark was a man. When he married his second wife, Loretta, and when Lou Klein, we were at the Venus Lounge, and Dick Clark was leaving for the West Coast, Dick said, with Charlie O'Donnell, make a pilot, give it to Lou, which we did. They sat on it. Channel 10, these wonderful people here, are the ones that picked up the pilot. But it was Dick Clark that was instrumental for me to be where I am today. Because when I went on radio and I was playing Sherry and He's So Fine and Party of Lights, he would call me up and say, the kids are listening to you. What are you playing? And he would go on the air and say, Jerry Blavit, Jerry Blavit. Before that, everybody in the business thought I was a rebel. They still think I'm a rebel. But he's the guy that understood where my heart was, because his heart was the same heart. This was a man that has to be respected, not only for what he did for the industry, but for what he did to each and every one of you people here at one time or another, because he did touch our lives. And I want to acknowledge also that the Jordan brothers are here, Frank Jordan, and he was here. Frank, take a bow. I got to tell you about the Jordan brothers. They went on Bandstand when they did not have a national hit. That's the way Dick Clark was. And I'm going to end this conversation by telling you one great thing about Dick. His ties to Philadelphia were many. Every year, for the last 25 years, I would send him out macaroni. I sent the macaroni to Sinatra, to Sammy Davis, to Madonna, to all my friends. The macaroni was from Philadelphia to Ludo's. Ludo's macaroni, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Toludo is here. And when I went out to the memorial in May, me, Frankie Valli, Dionne Warwick, Paul Anka, and at that time, Berry Gordy, I whispered in Carrie's ear. I said, Carrie, you'll get the macaronis again this year. And she said, but not so much, please. So I spoke to her, and the macaronis are on their way to Carrie. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the great things that I remember in my heart about this man. And I thank you for listening. You're wonderful. God bless.
Jerry Blavit, everyone, a living legend. And speaking of emulating, that's one of the DJs that I would try to emulate when I was getting into the business. And he helped a lot. He really did. Good man, Jerry Blavit. Before I go any farther, I got a little personal problem. I'm a little short on money. I need gas money to get home. Tom Moran. Tom, I need a couple bucks. Can you help me? You're a little short? Okay. This next guy, ladies and gentlemen, this next speaker is a very talented man, extremely talented man. He's worked with many, many groups, but probably most famous for his own. It's called Billy and the Essentials. Do you know the group? Maybe I'll be there over the weekend. That was a great song. He's here. He's here today. He's going to speak about Dick Clark. His name, Billy Carlucci.
All right. I'll tell you, looking at you guys, I'm going to sing Teenager in Love, but Jerry said we can't know you sing until the end of the show. Dick was a great guy. Brings you back to days of yesterday. We worked in Las Vegas with Joe and Frank. Such a kind gentleman. I'm going to keep this very short because I know there's a lot of speakers. And he was very kind to me and Joe and Frank, and we had a great time for a lot of years. Once again, I salute you, Dick Clark. Thanks.
All right, very, very short and sweet. Thanks, Billy. I appreciate that. Bill Kelly is here. He was a dancer on American Bandstand, and he's also board of directors of our club. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill Kelly.
Well, what conviviality in this room today. Thank you, Corky. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate seeing your faces today, many for a reunion. And what a reunion this event has become. For example, Arlene Sullivan, the last time I saw Arlene Sullivan was Friday night, April the 1st, 1986. At the Adams Mark Hotel, we celebrated Dick's installation into the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters. And I remember that so well. Arlene, I saved my ticket for dinner that night, and we're at table number 15. And this is a treasure for me. And I have a picture at our dinner table with Arlene sitting next to my mother, and Jimmy Darren came over. I get the Darrens mixed up, but he's the actor. Jimmy Darren came over to see us, so I brought this for you, Arlene, so you can treasure that like I have, although these many years. None of this would be possible without the leadership and the love of our own Jerry Wilkinson. And Jerry, thank you for doing this today. In deference to time, I've narrowed a ton, literally a ton of memories that I would enjoy sharing two with you, if you would allow me to do that. One, an afternoon of July 1958, Dick asked us if we could possibly stay and dance for about 20 minutes in order to do a demonstration for ABC television. He said, someone has invented or developed, that's the same word, a method of making a reproduction of an event appear live. And Dick said it might even replace film. No one's ever heard of this before, and Dick never heard of this. He said the title is Videotape. And the rest is history. Isn't that neat? And second, after I completed my active duty in the Army, I taught school in Philadelphia, and then I began a new teaching career, a tenure in Phoenixville outside Valley Forge. In addition to my classroom teaching, I created and produced a musical variety show which lasted for 35 years and involved up to 400 plus kids in a production. I remained connected with Carrie and Dick, and they both blessed my dream by producing an introduction to the show by way of video, which welcomed the students, the parents, and the public, sometimes even a brief synopsis of the show. They both supported my dream of involving as many kids, especially junior high school age, with an experience demonstrating the benefits of and the need for positive recognition, which we all need. We know that. And it worked. And I thank Dick and Carrie for their personal support that was and remains a significant portion of my life well beyond 45th and Market Streets. Thank you, and my blessings to you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Thanks for sharing with us. I need glasses. Oh, this guy. We're talking about legends and talking about people I admire. I don't want to sound sacrilegious. It's not why I'm here. But these people are gods to me. I mean, they're just wonderful. It's people. Can you imagine being on the radio in the morning and getting, I don't know what the exact number, but it's over a 50 share? You know what? Everybody should know what that means. That means half the radios that were on were listening to this man. Yeah, incredible. I mean, that's unheard of. What do we got? Rush Limbaugh, Howard Stern, they're getting a 10, 12 share, 8 share, 51 share. Incredible. It's one of Dick Clark's best friends. And Dick Clark had said the story, as the story goes, Dick Clark would call him in the morning, because he's the Rebel Wright is who I'm talking about. They'd call him in the morning and say, what's hot? What are you playing? What do the kids want? You know? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to go any farther. Mr. Bill Wright Senior.
Thank you very much, Corky. Actually, that was a 52 share, not 51. Hey, we're all here in the same ego. I am so privileged to be here among my peers and to pay tribute to a man that I not only loved, I was able to stay in touch with for over a half a century. But I want to tell you about Dick Clark's heart, his heart. In 1958, Bandstand had been rolling with Dick for about a year. Wibbage was cooking all 990 cylinders. And my boss, a guy named Lionel Baxter, who brought me to Philadelphia, my mentor, said to me one day, do you think Dick Clark would come to Birmingham, our hometown, for the Toy Bowl football game? Now, the Toy Bowl football game was very similar to Pop Warner football, little fellows playing football, that Lionel and several Catholic laymen had instituted in Birmingham about 4 years prior. And every year, they were able to present a well-known personality. At one time, Pat O'Brien, who had played Father Flanagan, was there. Walter Brennan, Jack Sterling. Many of you remember Jack when he did the Big Top Super Circus right here from Philadelphia. And he said, could you ask Dick if he would come to Birmingham? I said, what the heck, Lionel? I've shared a couple of banquets with Dick. I know him not only to speak to him, but occasionally I will talk to him by phone. So we invited Dick to the Penn AC, a fashionable place at 18th and Walnut, for lunch, and he came. And Lionel explained all about the Toy Bowl and how the proceeds from the Toy Bowl finance the entire parochial school system athletic program. And Dick listened intently, and he said, when is that date? This was August. When is the date? He said, 18th of November. He said, let me make a phone call. There were no cell phones then. He went to the phone, came back in about 10 minutes, and he said, that's the 18th of Sunday? Yeah. You got it. He had spoken to Tony Mammarella. He had gone to the calendar, and he booked Birmingham for the 18th of November. Well, my first late wife and I and Dick and his first wife, Barbara, got on a Capital Airlines plane at 6 o'clock in the morning, changed planes in Atlanta. Somebody said one time, you can't get to heaven unless you go by way of Atlanta. But then into Birmingham, and then all of the Toy Bowl football game. Dick must have signed 10,000 autographs at that game, and a banquet which I emceed, and Dick was the guest speaker at the Tutwiler Hotel that evening. Now we're on the airplane, 9 o'clock at night, dead tired. And I took out a blank check that Lionel had given me to give to Dick, and I said, Dick, would you just please tell me your fee and expenses so that I can write out this check? He thought for a minute and reached over and took the check out of my hands, ripped it in two pieces, and said, this is for the kids of Birmingham. The biggest heart that I had encountered, and one of the biggest ever in show business, was my good friend, Dick Clark. And I know Dick, on a sad note, I know Dick is up there with 20 new angels around God's throne from Newtown, Connecticut. I just had to get that off my chest because I know so many of us have thought deeply about that tragedy. But imagine 20 beautiful new angels flying around God's throne. And Dick is probably running a record hop. Thank you so much.
Bill Wright Senior. Sitting here listening to him speak, I remember he performed on Bandstand. Who remembers Deck of Cards? Do you remember that song? Yeah. And I remember Scarlet Ribbons, too, I believe. Am I correct? There he goes. Wow, I remember that. Hey, she's got the album. There you go. This guy is, I'm proud to say, is one of my dearest friends in the whole world. Has been for a few years now. Quite a few years now. Again, we talk about talent, and the talent that is in this room is incredible. And this guy certainly takes a back seat to no one. Who remembers Oh Baby? Remember that? Meet me on South Street. Well, meet him right now. It's Stephen Caldwell of the original Orlons.
Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone here, Broadcast Pioneers. This is different for me. You know, I'm usually singing into the microphone. So what I did was I was laying in the bed night before last, and I said, now I have to write something, and I have no idea what to write. I know what I want to say, so I said, well, let me just get up and write something so that I just don't go on and on. And it started out with, my name is Stephen Caldwell. I was the original lead singer of the Orlons back in 1957, and until we went to the record company, that's what I did. I sang lead. The girls sang behind me. We went to the company, Cameo Parkway Records, and they were looking for a female lead singer. Well, at that time, I didn't know that I could sing high, So, so I had to back up and let one of the girls, take over, and we got signed at Cameo Parkway. And I'd like to say very much that I'm proud to be invited here today by this committee, and it's just overwhelming to see all these folks here that enjoy the music that we did early in our lives. And this is where Mr. Dick Clark came into play for a lot of us young folks in the entertainment business. A lot of folks don't know that Dick Clark also had shows that he called Cavalcade of Stars. And we would go out, we worked it 5 times. We would go out on the road anywhere from 35 to 50 days at a time. One-nighters on a bus. And at that time, the buses that we used did not have air conditioning. So we know how when the bus broke down, we had to push it off to the side of the road or what have you, wait for a mechanic to come and fix it. But I say for Mr. Clark, what he did was he treated us young folks like adults, not like children. Anywhere that we went, the accommodations were always top-notch. He threw a party for us just about every other show that we did. And he showed us that we were appreciated by him, and we did our best to show that we appreciated him. And what I say to close out is, Mr. Clark's picture will hang on my wall always, as to me for me to remember, and give the chance to know him, to be in the company of him. He was a person of greatness. Thank you.
Very nice, Steve. Steven, I should say. It's Steven. I'm talking about people I love and people who I think are gods. I'll say it again. Does anybody remember the movie Peggy Sue Got Married with Nicolas Cage and, what was it, Kathleen Turner, I think it was. And Kathleen Turner's little sister says, oh, she's watching Bandstand. She says, oh, look, it's Arlene. She thinks she's all that. Yeah. Arlene's with us today. Arlene is a dear friend. I love her so much. She is an incredible, incredible person. What a dancer. And of course, she is a regular dancer on American Bandstand. Ladies and gentlemen, Arlene Sullivan.
Hello. You have to bear with me. I have never, ever had to speak in front of a group before. And I had a couple mini strokes, so I might stutter a little bit. I have fond memories of those days. They were fun. I'll tell you one fond memory that I had. It was on the local show. It wasn't nationwide yet. And I walked into the studio one day, and Dick Clark had called me over to the side, and he had a package. And he said to me, this package came for you. And inside was a blouse and a skirt. And it was handmade. And he said, they sent it for you. And he said, would you mind putting it on? And we will, go on the air and thank this woman. And I was mortified because I was so shy. I said, I can't do that, Dick Clark. I said, I can't do it, Dick. I said, I just can't. He said, well, she made it because her son, who was ill, he was 9 years old, and he asked her if she would make that for me. And it was a white satin blouse and a white satin skirt with black musical notes on it. It was very attractive. And so I was mortified when he asked me because I was so shy. I don't even know why I was on that show. I was so shy. And he said, please put it on. It's for her son. He is ill. He's 9 years old. And I said, okay, I will. So I changed, and he brought me out, and he did the thank you, and we displayed the outfit. And after the show, the little boy and his parents he had invited them to come to the show. And after the show, the little boy was so happy to meet me, and he was so sweet. And I was mortified, but it made for a great day. And then after the show, Dick Clark had come over to me, and he thanked me for doing that. And he said, I know it was hard for you to do that. And I said, well, it turned out to be a happy day for me. And that's one of my fond memories. There's a lot of stories. I won't bore you. You can meet me out in the lobby. I'll tell you them all. But thank you so much for inviting me. And it was an honor. Thank you.
Arlene Sullivan. Wow. Like I said, gods to me. Here's somebody who said she's not accustomed to public speaking. She had no notes. She had nothing. She just came out and talked to you from the heart. And that's wonderful. I, however, need notes. These guys, are they going to come up together? Okay. We're talking about best friends and everything. They've just, and we talk about the talent in the room. How many, I think there's over 100, Lou Klein could probably know better than I, but probably over 100 appearances on American Bandstand. Why? They were in the neighborhood. Plus, they're talented, and they had smash hit records of the original Danny and the Juniors, Joe Terry and Frank Maffei.
Hey, Corky, should we do this whole 20 pages or cut it to 15?
Do 18.
Hey, what's taking you so long?
I had to go by way of 50 by Market Street there.
Well, I want to tell the folks out there about how we came to know Dick Clark.
All right, good.
See, we were hanging on a corner. We were singing doo-wop. That's something we did every night. Well, this guy, a local singer named Johnny Madeira, he heard us and he thought we were pretty good. So he took us to his vocal coach, who was a guy named Artie Singer, who had a local society orchestra and a record label. Yeah, a record label. Well, we did these 2 songs, original material for him. One was called Doo-da-bop. That was about a dance all the kids were doing on Bandstand. Arlene will tell you that. And Sometimes When I'm All Alone. Well, Artie, he thought we were good too. So he took us into the Record recording studio on 12th Street and Market over the bowling alley. And he recorded us on these 2 songs. Then he took the songs to Dick Clark. He wanted to get his opinion. So what happened was Dick said, "The bop, hey, these dances, they come and go. Why don't you change the title of that song to At the Hop and tell the story in the song, in the lyrics, about all the stuff that happens at a record hop?" So we went back, rewrote the song, retitled the song, just as he suggested.
All right, let me take it from here. So, we went on American Bandstand. We did 2 local shows, and then somebody, one of the groups, didn't show up, and I got a fast phone call to get the guys together and get the bandstand. And we did the national portion, and the phone lines just lit up. And from there, the record just skyrocketed right up to #1 by Christmas of that year. At the Hop was on the charts for over 6 months. and it continued to be played for the next 10 years at everybody's record hop. So Dick did that for us, and we are so lucky to have that. Frank?
And let me tell you something about Dick Clark. He just wasn't a producer. He loved to perform live with a live show in front of live audiences. And he never forgot us. Even after our records stopped coming, the hit records, he still hired us in what he called Dick Clark's good old rock and roll shows. And I'll never forget one time in Reno, Nevada, at John Esquaga's Nugget, we had a show with Frankie Avalon and the Olympics. Yeah, the Olympics and us. And some of the guys in the band, they had gone up to the Mustang Ranch in Reno. I guess everybody knows that that's a
House of ill repute.
Yeah. So anyway, they went up there and they got friendly with some of the courtesans, and they got comps to the show for these girls. Well, they come to the show, and then Dick comes out to start the introductions, and they toss up this folded T-shirt to Dick. So without looking at the T-shirt, he displayed it on his chest, right? And so the whole audience cracked up. And so he turned the shirt around to see what the shirt said. And it said, I had a ball at the Mustang Ranch.
What a story to pick, I'm telling you. Anyway, though, on that particular show, we did 2 weeks, so we had a day off. And Dick and Carrie invited us to a house that was rented for them to a barbecue. So all the acts went to the barbecue, and Dick put on his, hat, and he was flipping burgers. And Carrie, I mean, she just was the hostess with the mostest, I'm telling you. What a bright and tremendous personality. Listen.
Hi, this is Carrie Clark. Dick and I were lucky enough to have 43 years together, and I know how very special he would find your honoring him at the Broadcast Pioneers Luncheon today. I understand that some of the artists and bandstand dancers and many of his old friends and those he worked with will be there. He always loved his days in Philadelphia, and every time I was back there with him, he gave me the same tour of the city and told me the same stories. I think I could now do the tour. Anyway, Dick was so pleased when Joe Terry and Frank and Bobby came to L.A. to have lunch with him, with us actually, recently. And little did they know that this would be their last time together. But again, thank you very much, Broadcast Pioneers, for honoring him today. And I wish you all happy holidays.
Carrie Clark, ladies and gentlemen. And then, of course, the show went to Sacramento, then we went to L.A., and it was just fun working with Dick. He was a great guy.
He was. He even produced a Vegas show around us called the Nifty 50s. We had girl dancers, we had a comedian, all kinds of special material. Man, what a great year that was.
It was fabulous. Billy Carlucci mentioned it before.
He was there with us,
wasn't he? He was there, absolutely. Had a great time.
Okay, let me finish up here. Aren't you going to interrupt me again? No. Now, as Carrie said before, right after Dick's first stroke, we were working in L.A., and we called Dick up, and we were asked him to see if we could visit. And he was kind enough to invite us out to his gigantic home and office complex out there in Malibu, and we had a lovely lunch with him and Carrie.
Let me finish. Dick was in great spirits when we saw him. He swam twice a day. He kept himself in as good shape as he possibly could. And at that particular time, he had just re-signed 5 years to do the ball New Year's Eve. I mean, he was the hardest working guy in show business. We just loved him to death. And thank you so much, broadcast pioneers, for allowing us to tell you these stories.
All right, since Frank Maffei was interrupted so many times, I guess he didn't have the chance to say goodbye. May I do it for you, Frank? May I say goodbye can I say it? Okay.
Frank Maffei here. Thank you very much, broadcast pioneers, for inviting me out here today.
How was that? Fair. I also call their band up and call a rehearsal real quick. So let's see who we got now. Oh, Ray Smith. Ray Smith is a producer for the Today Show on NBC, of course, and he was the caption writer for the book Dick Clark's American Bandstand. Let's all welcome Ray Smith, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, he's got the book, too.
First of all, thank you for inviting me here today. Like all teenagers that were on Bandstand or American Bandstand, I first met Dick when I was 14. It was the spring of '57. It was still Bandstand. And I would bug him constantly to be on Record Review. And he always said, no, not today. Try next week. It was always no. Then, in December 1957, which is like 55 years ago this month, he said yes. And I was so excited that when I got on air, I didn't remember my name. And fortunately, he had it written down. And he said, Smith? So one of the things that I do remember that day is we reviewed Get a Job. And I noticed on one of the pictures on the table back there, on the board with all the top hits, it was a number 5 song. And we gave it a good rating, so, I had a hand in that part of rock and roll. Now, when you were on Record Review, you got a gift. And it was sometimes a record carrier for your 45s, or an album, or an autograph book, or some kind of gift certificate. Well, we got an album, and it was the album that every 15-year-old wants. John Facenda narrating the Nativity. Somewhere it lurks out there. I was angry. I have to say, I was really angry. Except for seeing Dick on the show for the 3 years that I kind of went on, I was never a regular, but I was there a lot. I never had anything to do with Dick after that until 1997. A friend of mine who was in publishing came to me and said, hey, why don't we do a book together? Because she was a packager of books and I was a writer. And I said, sure. She had come up with an idea. Without thinking, I said, American Bandstand. I know it from the inside. I know the people. I know who's important. I know all this stuff. And she said, nah, I don't think it'll work. So it died. And then about 4 months later, I got a phone call, and she says, the American Bandstand book is a go. And I was like, puffed up. She got it. She understood. It's not true. Dick had signed a contract with HarperCollins. He wanted another book. And so I was hired to write the captions in the book. And Dick wanted a book that was a picture book. And I don't know if you all have seen this, but there are close to 250 pictures in this book. And I wrote the captions for all of them. And the thing is, what was important is the captions were not, from left to right. The captions were the story of American Bandstand, the story of rock and roll, history. There was a lot of the history is interwoven in there, plus my own story of being on American Bandstand. Dick at first didn't want me to do it, and then he found out that I worked on the Today Show, and he kind of liked the idea, I think. So it worked out. The book was supposed to, or Dick wanted it to be released at Christmas of '97 because he thought it was a great tabletop book and coffee table book, I guess it's called. HarperCollins was falling apart at that time. They released it in August of 1997, which was the 40th anniversary of American Bandstand, and he said to me, he said, "It'll die. It'll just die." I don't know how many copies were ever sold, but I know that if you go to buy it, you have to buy a used copy. So the 100,000 that were printed are out there somewhere. The last time, I was going to say, the one thing that I found out when I was working with Dick, we worked together on this book with his writer, Fred Bronson. In the 4 months we worked together, I never had a face-to-face meeting with Dick. He was never still. He was moving all the time. He was in a limousine. He was at a meeting. He was in a plane. He was opening a theater. He was at a restaurant. And everything was over the phone or conference calls. And I think he didn't have a great memory because I would write something and say something, and he would say, "Is that true?" And I'd have to back it up, and he goes, "Oh, I guess it was." I mean, he couldn't remember what time the show started, whether it was 2:30, 2:45, 3 o'clock. It changed constantly. And it was very interesting. I forget who mentioned Starlight Ballroom. I was fortunate enough to be in a documentary called Wildwood Days, which is the story of doo-wop, the music and architecture in Wildwood, New Jersey. In that documentary, Dick tells the story about collecting 75 cents at the door of Starlight Ballroom. I used to go to Starlight Ballroom, and I never remembered seeing him taking money. So I did my research, and he did, in fact, take the money from Starlight Ballroom. But it was Starlight Ballroom in Allentown. All right, I didn't see Dick again until the last time I saw Dick was on the Today Show. He was there to, I call it hawking his CDs of the greatest hits of American Bandstand. And I said to him, I said, "Wait a minute, didn't you just do this like on television 3 a.m. or on PBS?" And he said, "Yeah, but this is the last time you're going to be able to sell CDs." I had no clue what he meant. And then I have to say, about 2 years ago, I had an epiphany. I'm ordering a song on iTunes. And I said, "Oh my God, this is what he meant." Which confirmed for me the one thing that I always knew about him. Dick really was a visionary. He was able to look into the future and see before the curve. He knew what kind of was going to be popular. I mean, that's how he could do American Bandstand. He knew the kids in Iowa and California and Texas, they were going to sit and watch Philadelphia kids dance. He knew that rock and roll wasn't just a fly-by-night fad, that it was going to stick around. And award shows, he knew that award shows would work. I mean, I think the Golden Globes were just a joke before the Dick Clark Productions took them over, and now they rival the Oscars. The last thing that Dick did for me was he recommended me for some jobs, and I got to contribute to some rock and roll books and dancing books. He also wanted, excuse me, very much for there to be a Broadway musical about American Bandstand. And he recommended Arlene and me to work with Delia Ephron and her husband Jerry Cass on writing this musical. They finished the scripts. Dick liked it, but Manny Eisenberg, the Broadway producer, didn't, and it died. So for the last 11 years, I think, my lyricist and I, Ronnie, out here, she and I have been working on this musical, and that I hope soon, but who knows what soon is at my age anyway, that it comes to fruition and that we realize Dick's dream. So again, thank you very much for inviting me here today.
All right, let me see if I can fix this. I'm sorry about the noise. It's not going to be fixed. Well, anyhow. There's a lot of love in this room today. You can feel it, can't you? I mean, a lot of love for Dick Clark and all the artists that are out there and all the people that made the artists who they are. Well, the love doesn't stop here, because here's somebody I'm not ashamed to say I am totally in love with and have been for a long, long time. The word superstar comes to mind. Not a national hit, a worldwide hit. How many people know how to do the mashed potatoes? Yeah? Really? Incredible. Well, those who do, teach the ones that don't, and that'll be. And I am totally in love with this woman, the legend herself, Miss Dee Dee Sharp.
Thank you so much for inviting me. What can I say about Dick Clark? I owe him everything. I owe him everything. Not only was he a great businessman, he actually, he knew the business so much more than we did when we were kids. A lot of stories. I've been sitting here listening to all of the stories that people have told about him, and I want to give a different perspective on this. He met my mother, God rest her soul. This was one of the first times that I had done American Bandstand. Scared, forgive me. I was shaking in my boots, okay? The little Pandora dress and the whole 9 yards. I was scared. I had no knowledge of what else to do except stand there. Now, my brother had already told me, when you start to dance, you're gonna just do that. I'm like, I can't do that. I have never, believe me, never done the mashed potatoes. I don't know how. It's very true. I mean, true. I don't know how. My brother taught me just a little something that I could do, and I have been, it's been, let's see, I'm 67 now, so it's been over 50 years. God love my brother. It's been 50 years. I've been faking it. Because I can't dance a lick. I mean, I can play piano. I can play piano. I can play organ. I play all kinds of keys. But dance, that's not one of my forte, honey. I'm not going to keep you. I just want to say, in memory of Dick Clark, I love this man. He was just wonderful. I remember one time, we were on the Caravan of Stars. Do you remember it? Remember the Caravan of Stars? We went down to Jackson, Mississippi. Well, they threw stones at the bus. They threw everything at the bus. And I actually saw for the first time the KKK. A girl from North Philadelphia, I was scared, okay? Dick Clark got on the bus and said, don't be afraid, because we're not staying here. If nobody can respect us, then we can't respect them. And I never forgot him for that. All of the tours that we did a lot of tours. All of the tours we did, I never forgot that. And he was just a wonderful person. I really thank you for having me. I thank you for inviting me. May God bless you. Have a beautiful, happy, and prosperous New Year. God bless.
Dee Dee Sharp. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, so maybe I'll get kicked out of the club, but just shake your head yes or no. Okay, shook his head yes. Dee Dee Sharp and Stephen Caldwell have graciously consented to join our club. So we welcome them, and we hope to see a lot here. We really do. We do great work, by the way. We really do. All right. Oh my goodness, we're up to the man himself. This guy is again. I hate to keep saying it, but he's a god to me. I mean, this guy. Legend has it he sat down with Carter Mearbrier, who we all know as Captain Noah, over, I think it was an oyster dinner or something like that, and came up with the concept of Captain Noah's magical ark. I mean, this is the creative mind, you know. He was certainly the producer, the executive producer of American Bandstand, Sally Star Show, so many things. I'm not going to go on. Speaks for him. His work speaks for himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Lou Klein.
Before telling you a few stories about American Bandstand and about Dick Clark, I would just like to comment on the people who have already spoken. Really, you've made this day very emotional for me and for my wife. The stories that you've told about Dick, the respect that you've given Dick, the love that you've expressed for Dick, really just is a wonderful thing, and this is a wonderful day. And thanks to all of those who have already spoken. It's been great. I've known Dick for 60 years. Dick, and he had just graduated from college. He came to then WFIL to audition for a radio job. And two of us, Jack Steck and I, were assigned to audition Dick Clark. He was then early 20s, just out of school. And so for that audition, we presented him with a few scripts. I remember one of them was a Campbell Soup commercial. And we said, Dick, look these over, take your time, and then we'd like to open up a camera and see how you do doing the commercials. And we'll wait in the control room. About 5, 6, 7 minutes went by, and Dick came into the control room and said, I'm ready. We said, wait a minute. We don't want verbatim, but we want you to deliver the commercials, you know, pretty much the way they were written out. He said, don't worry. We went back. He went back into the studio and did the commercials word for word. We couldn't believe it. I mean, how could this be? Well, we later found out Dick had a tape recorder, and he taped the commercials. That took a couple of minutes. The tape recorder sat on the floor, and he had a foot pedal, and he could stop the tape recorder. And from the tape recorder, he ran a wire up inside his coat and into his ear. And he played the commercials and was able to repeat what he was hearing as it was playing. So he used that technique all through bandstand days. And he was so articulate and so glib and so thankful to that tape recorder. This, I think, describes Dick and how down to earth he was. Janet and I and Carrie and Dick were at an ABC affiliate meeting in New York City. And the big show with all of the ABC stars was at Radio City Music Hall. Dick was the master of ceremonies. So he was really the center of the whole show. When the show was over, ABC had enough leverage to close off Fifth Avenue, and everybody walked right up the middle of Fifth Avenue to the Hilton Hotel for a big party that followed the show. And when we got there, Carrie and Janet said, you know, we have to powder up, and we're going to the ladies' room. And Dick and I waited outside of the ladies' room to go into the party. And we waited, and you know how it is. You wait. Husbands know. You wait, and you wait. Finally, I said to Dick, let's go into the party. We can get a drink, and our wives will find us. He said, I can't do that. And I said, why not? He said, Carrie has the tickets. And he meant that. I mean, he meant it. That's the way he was. When WPVI was building the new building out on City Line Avenue, Rebecca Campbell, who was the manager of the station, called me. And she said, you know, when Dick left to go to California, he took with him the door to the studio from American Bandstand at 46th and Market Street. Now, I tell you, this door was worth about $50. In fact, the studios at 46th and Market Street were worth about $50. But Dick was a collector. He had a 3-story building in Burbank, packed, every inch of it. The risers on the steps, every inch was memorabilia from his life and from American Bandstand and all the other programs that he did. Well, Rebecca called and said, we are going to have a kind of a historic display in our new building, and we'd like to get that door back representing American Bandstand. Would you call Dick and ask if he'll give us the door back? So I called him. He said, Lou, I can't do that. We're having an auction of some of the Bandstand memorabilia, and the door is already in the catalog, and people are already calling and asking about the door. They're going to bid on the door. So he said, the only way you can get the door is to bid on it. As Dee Dee said just earlier, Dick was quite a businessman. He was more a businessman than he was a performer, I can tell you. Anyhow, ABC sent one of the people who worked there over to the auction house and bid on this door. And $4,500 more later, WPVI had the door back that Dick had taken. I think people ask me, you know, what was the greatest contribution that American Bandstand made to this country? And really, you all know it had great impact. The manners, boys had to wear a coat and tie, the dances, all that went into that program that people saw on the air, the performers, the kids, the regulars. But I must tell you, I think the greatest thing as far as Bandstand was concerned was the fact that when it first went on the air, there were stations in the South that would not carry the program. Because in 1957, to have Afro-American kids dancing on the same dance floor with white kids was just not done. High schools had separate proms for white and black. And even though the stations in the South, and of course clearing stations and having affiliates carry a program, is so vital to the program even staying on the air. And the question came up, should we still have an integrated program and lose those stations? And Dick said, absolutely, we are never going to change what we do on this program in regard to the audience and to the kids who are dancing. And actually, oh, thank you very much. The greatest impact, in my mind, that American Bandstand had across the country was the helping to integrate the school proms and the attitudes that existed at that time. 1957 was a different world than it is today. Janet and I were privileged enough. Carrie called us and said, please come out to Dick's memorial service. And so last May, we went to Malibu. The ceremony was at Dick and Carrie's home, which sits on a cliff just overlooking the Pacific. It was a beautiful day. And individuals like, of course, Stevie Wonder, Reba McEntire, Marie Osmond, Paul Anka were there. There were about 200 people, and the crowd included cameramen, limo drivers, people from the cafeterias, some of the studios. So it wasn't just the stars, it were the people in Dick's life and the people he cared about. And we shall never, ever forget the love that was expressed at that time for Dick. And as we looked over the Pacific where Dick was cremated and his ashes were spread out into the ocean in front of his home. But we'll never forget the love that was expressed at that moment and the love that's been expressed here today for Dick Clark.